To understand the situation better, we're joined from Isfahan by geopolitical analyst K Elyader. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Sir, how seriously is Tehran taking the latest US sanctions, and can they change Iran's economic or foreign policy calculations?
Thank you for having me on again. Good evening. Honestly, the sanctions regime has been a tool in the American toolbox for decades. So Iranians are particularly familiar with the pressure that sanctions had achieved on Iran previously, and obviously they adjusted and created a relatively independent economy. Iran has several trade corridors and land corridors. It's neighbored by several countries. It has the Caspian Sea. And whether it's the sanctions regime or the siege warfare that America is conducting, the effects will be diminishing, similar to the military pressure that the Americans put. The effects of that diminished, and the Americans were depleted. Now we have to see which economy might break first. The Americans are dealing with a crisis in the bond markets. They're printing money to buy out their own treasury bonds, buy back their own treasury bonds. They weren't able to help Japan properly with the Central Bank of Japan raising interest rates, and a possible crippling of the Japanese economy will affect the Americans, and as they are trading allies and trading partners. We are seeing the possible trade war between America and Canada. We're seeing increased gas prices in the United States, all for a war that was waged by Israel. And I had said in the past as well, quoting Aaron Mate, the credible, reputable international independent journalist, he said sanctions is a form of sadism. It's sadistic. It's a sadistic behavior that only causes pain on the common Iranian, the Iranian on the streets. It deprives people in need of medicine with medicine. It causes economic unrest. But with the other financial systems coming up, like the Chinese CIPS system, and financial systems that are not going to be so dependent on the US dollar and the Western financial system, I think, and the various trade corridors of Iran, I think Iran will weather these sanctions threat both economically, and we must not forget Mr. Mohsen Rezai's, the head of the Security Council, his recent statements that sanctions will be seen and interpreted by Iran as an act of war, and any player, whether regional or international player, that will cooperate with the United States in order to inflict sanctions on Iran or continue helping United States with this siege and blockade, Iran might also retaliate militarily. And we must also not forget that there are many talks, because of popular support, of Iran moving away from the NPT. So that is also a possible scenario.
All right, sir. Iran has rejected the latest US pressure. Is Tehran still leaving the door open to diplomacy, particularly through Pakistan?
Iran respects Pakistan's role, and the recent visit of Field Marshal Asim Munir. They hold huge respect for Mr. Asim Munir as well, because they mediated immensely during the 40-day war, which culminated in the MOU. And Iran still sees the framework of the MOU as being the only path for diplomacy. So perhaps if Iran sees the other side of the coin or the other side of the table, the United States acting in accordance with the MOU, maybe it will open the door for diplomacy. But Iran welcomes Pakistan's role because with or without America, Pakistan is the neighbor of Iran, and Iran has to act accordingly, create understandings and possible treaties or cooperation pacts with its neighbors. So Pakistan has ethnic ties with Iran, has economic ties with Iran, and also obviously it holds strong ties with the United States, with Saudi Arabia, with Turkey. So it can continue to possibly have an eye on diplomacy, but Iranians are not looking for diplomacy with the United States anymore. I think if the matters pointed out in the MOU are abided to, then it can possibly open the door for negotiations and diplomacy.
All right, how significant is Field Marshal Asim Munir's visit for Iran-Pakistan ties? And could Pakistan help bridge the gap between Tehran and Washington for real?
I think so. As I in your previous question and my answer, uh, Mr. Asim's role is welcomed. It was a great. The MOU was a great achievement, and I think even the Americans understand that we must not forget the impending economic pressure on the world economy, and I think America will use the bluff game a lot ongoing. I think they have exhausted their military options, and sanctions this time might not work as effectively as before because Iran might retaliate even militarily. Therefore, I think America will ask Pakistan for a greater role, Mr. Asim Munir, for a greater role to bring back diplomacy and a possible solution for peace and stability. And I think, yes, of course, Pakistan can bridge that gap. I think it's a possible. And Iran sees Pakistan as the main mediating force, anyhow. And it has stated this in the past. Because unlike the Gulf countries that might be coerced and pressured excessively by the Americans, I don't think we face the same issue with Pakistan.
Sir, Iran is preparing for a long-term confrontation. How much appetite remains in Tehran for diplomacy and regional de-escalation?
The appetite for peace, global rules of war, ethical conduct, diplomacy, and proper responsibility, even neighborly responsibility, is something that Iran has always had an appetite for. We saw the 5 rounds of negotiations before the negotiations table was met with bombs from the Israelis and the Americans causing war crimes and inflicting war crimes on Iran. Iran was pursuing the diplomatic path. It was pursuing the diplomatic path before the 12-day war. It pursued the diplomatic path that achieved the MOU along with Pakistan. Iran always embraces diplomacy, but as long as it sees that the party sitting across the table from it, namely the Americans, are acting in bad faith, are not to be trusted, are violating the signature that they signed. Are even the Iran is seeing that even the American political system and establishment is basically having their tails wagged by the Israelis, and Iran sees all these complications. Therefore, yes, of course, it will have an appetite for proper peace if the other side acts in good faith. But if it doesn't, Iran, I don't want to say has the appetite for kinetic reaction and military conflict, but it is ready for military action and military retaliation as well. But obviously, Iran is a peace-abiding nation. It embraces peace more than it does war, but it will act strongly, resiliently as it did if pain is going to be inflicted on Iran. And as I said before, and quoting Mr. Mohsen Rezai, sanctions, blockades, sieges are interpreted by the Iranians as acts of war, and Iran will react accordingly.